All right. Thank you very much once again. So for those who don't know me, my name is Clement. I'm a PhD student from Cardiff University School of Mathematics. Um, so this is another lesson. So technically, we've had previous lessons, and then all those lessons have been uploaded on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe. You can always also sign up to the class anytime you want. And the core purpose of the class is actually to promote mathematical programming among students from Africa, but anyone is also welcome to join. So for the past lessons, we've been learning how to technically program in R, okay, and do some advanced data analysis in R. But I realized that there's something called IDE. So IDE is specifically called Integrated Development Environment. So it's actually like a platform where we run programming languages. So R Studio is a typical example of IDE for R, okay? So all this while R Studio is what most of the students were using. So what I came up was we needed to switch from R Studio to Jupyter Notebook. Okay, and Jupyter Notebook, one the word Jupyter, I just realized yesterday that it was actually derived from three programming languages. So already, if you've watched the previous lessons, specifically the first lesson, which are all on YouTube, if you watch that, you realize that I made mention of Python, I made mention of Julia, okay, and we have R. So Jupyter Notebook, the JU is actually coming from Julia. And then the pi, because the Jupyter is spelled as Jupyter, okay? So the JU technically implies Julia, and then the PY implies Python, and the R at the end is R. So it appears that the name Jupyter, for instance, actually came from these three programming languages, the Julia, the Python, and the R, okay? Fine. So that's just a little story I heard yesterday. I was shocked all this while. It never clicked. Okay, fine. All right. So we saw the advantages of from the first lesson, we saw the advantages of running R on Jupyter Notebook. And we said that Jupyter Notebook can help you to run several programming languages. And after running, you can always download your Jupyter Notebook or the script you've written even as a normal R Studio script. Okay. So meaning that at the end of the day, you can still download your script as you would have done in R Studio. But the advantage is that now you see all your codes, your results, and everything. Just so it's like within the same script, you are seeing your codes, you are seeing the plot and the graphs, and you don't have to be creating extra folder to be saving your script. You remember in R Studio, you always need to create some folder or a form of directory where you would, or repository where you'll be saving all your script. Okay, but technically in how do you call it, in Jupyter Notebook, you don't have to be, you'll be saving your script, but you don't have to be creating extra folder to be doing that. Okay, everything will uncover soon. All right, so without wasting much time, I'll start the lesson. So keep in mind, today wouldn't be very statistical, okay, because today the main purpose of this class for today is just to learn, first of all, how to install Jupyter Notebook from Anaconda. And after installing Jupyter Notebook, how would we open Jupyter Notebook? How would we add IRkernel to it? So keep in mind that when you download and install Jupyter, the only package or the only programming language in there is Python. That is the default programming language. So in order to run any other programming language, keep in mind that you need to add something called the kernel of that language. Okay. So until you add a kernel, you cannot run that particular programming language. Okay. So now, without wasting time, I'll share my screen and let's look at how you install the how do you call it? You install Jupyter Notebook from Anaconda. And after the installation, we'll now actually learn how to open it without much stress and then do a little bit. So I'll still do a little bit statistics in there, but not very intense because the core message is how you be writing your script, writing notes, everything in Jupyter Notebook as a professional. All right. So let me share my screen. Um, okay. So first of all, if you want to install Anaconda, okay, so the first thing is you need to install an Anaconda. So that's the first step, okay? So you just go to Google. So on Google, you just type maybe Anaconda installation. I've already added the links you need to on Piazza. So technically, Piazza is the platform where we also manage the class. We upload all scripts, and then everything is on Piazza. So where you can download the scripts data of previous lessons, okay, are all on Piazza. So first of all you need to do is you type Anaconda, I mean, installation or download, however you type it, and keep in mind that depending on depending on what you are using. Okay, so you saw that I just clicked on installation, Anaconda installation. Okay, I just clicked on that, and now I have this. So here, depending on the version of operating system you're using or the computer you're using, if you are using Windows, you just click on Windows. If you are using Linux, you can click on that. And then those using Linux, you can also run from the command line, okay? But because I'm using a Windows computer currently, here I use Linux machine by remotely from my office. But for what I'm using at the moment, I'm using Windows. So you just click on that, whatever operating system you're using to download. Okay. So after clicking, so I wouldn't click because I already have installed it. So I wouldn't want to undo what I've already done. So you just click appropriately. Okay, fine. So after clicking, the next thing you need to do is just click, because now you've clicked it to download it. So the next thing you need to do is just to also click on this and the setup and then install, just as you would have done any normal installation. Now after doing the installation, there's something called Anaconda prompt. Okay, so now after doing the installation, the next thing is how to open or how to open Anaconda. Okay, so what you can do is that you can use the command line. So I hope someone can just shout. Can you see my window key? I just click the window key. Can anyone see it? Anyone can shout. And Faith or Raymond.
No.
Okay,
Oh, no.
so let me share. Okay, so okay. All right, so now let me share. I think you should be able to see now. Okay, so can you see the Windows the window start menu?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can see
yeah,
now.
yeah.
We
We
can
can
see
see
now.
now.
So it means that first of all, you go to Google, you type Anaconda installation, then you go and look for the link that talks about installation Anaconda, right? You click on it, then you go, you see we have different Anaconda depending on the kind of operating system you're using. If you're using Windows, you click to download for Windows. If you're using Mac, you click, and Linux and so on. Okay, those working on Linux, if you have any challenge, you can always shout. Okay, you can just send me a message. But for Linux, you can do the normal download as well, but you can also use your command line also. Okay, fine. Now, after the installation, don't forget after downloading, you have to click to install, just as you would have installed any normal setup. Okay, so that you've installed. Now the next thing is to open. So ideally, how would you know Anaconda is already installed? Okay, so you can click on your Windows key. So I'm now restricting to Windows. I'm sure those on operating those using Linux, Ubuntu, and the rest would also be able to do the same. Okay, so I just type Anaconda. All right, so there's something called Anaconda Navigator. So technically, there are two ways you can open Anaconda. Either you click on Anaconda Navigator, okay, which let me click. Let me click. It takes a bit of time, but let me click and let's see what pops up within the Anaconda. But that's not the best way I would want you to be opening Jupyter Notebook. But what we are doing is that you find out that in Anaconda, okay, you can actually, even if you don't have RStudio, you can easily download RStudio directly from the Anaconda navigator without even having the R base installed. Don't forget that technically, if you are installing the RStudio, you always need to install RBase before the RStudio would work, isn't it? But keep in mind that if we are using Anaconda, you can literally open RStudio without even having the R base, because the Anaconda Navigator has a lot of distributions, including Jupyter Notebook, RStudio, that you can easily actually just download or actually open without necessarily having the R base, for instance, installed. All right. So it's opening, and you realize that it's taking a little bit of time. And that's why I was suggesting that that is not the best way to open. So I'll show you an easy way, but I just want us to have a feel of how the navigator looks like, because it can take a bit of time. But if we're using the other alternative, I mean, it's just seconds. Okay. So just bear with me for a while, and then let's wait a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so you can imagine how the time spent trying to open Anaconda or trying to open Jupyter Notebook from the Anaconda Navigator. So it can take a bit of time. Not like not more than 7 minutes, but it can take a bit of time. Anyway, so alternatively, it's still opening. So alternatively, if you come to your Windows start menu, you just type Anaconda. You saw the first one called Anaconda prompt. So always that's what you should open. Okay. So never open the navigator. Okay. The navigator is an alternative way to open, but it's not the best. As you can see, it takes a lot of time. Now, if you wanted to open from using the then okay. So I think it's opening now. Can we see the navigator opening at the moment? I just want to be sure whether I need to reshare the screen. Okay, can you see the Anaconda navigator at the moment?
No,
No.
please.
No.
No, Clement. We can't.
Okay, so after it opens, you will see something like this. So here you
Great.
um this is Jupyter Notebook. So it meant if you want to launch Jupyter Notebook, you just have to click on this one. Okay, but this is a long approach, which I'll never advise you. You saw it took more than almost 8 minutes before the Anaconda Navigator after your installation. So keep in mind, you've already installed Anaconda. I've showed you how you do the you do the download and how you do the installation. The installation, you just do the normal installation as you install any setup. Okay, fine. And after that, the next thing is to open Jupyter Notebook. So that's the key thing. So the key message is you are trying to open Jupyter Notebook. But to open Jupyter Notebook, what we are saying is that you have to do it from Anaconda. But in order to open from Anaconda, you realize that we have something called Anaconda Navigator, where you can manually just click on Jupyter Notebook. And once I click launch, I don't want to click launch from here, okay? But once I click launch or launch, however you call it, it would open Jupyter Notebook with any of your default browsers or any of your browsers, specifically your default one. Okay, so suppose mine is actually using the Chrome, so it will open with Chrome. Someone's own will open with Mozilla. Someone's own will open with Internet, the Explorer. Okay, fine. So when you come down here, you realize that all these are things you can easily just click for it to what? For it to open. But I talked about RStudio. So you see, there's RStudio here. So it meant that even if you don't have RBase on your computer, you can actually click this to install RStudio without necessarily having RBase, and it will work. But keep in mind that in that case, you would always have to come to the navigator before you open RStudio. Keep in mind that in that case, because I told you the last time that RStudio can only be installed after you've installed RBase. But if you are using the Anaconda Navigator, after clicking just install, it will install the RStudio, but you would always have to open the Anaconda Navigator before you can use the RStudio. Okay, fine. And then you can also just click on Jupyter Notebook from here. You just click this to open the Jupyter Notebook. All right, so I'll I'll stop sharing and go to the easiest approach. This approach is technically not the best. So I'll close that. Yes. Okay. So let's now Go back. Okay, so now I told you just click on Anaconda. When you click on Anaconda, now go for the prompt. So here you've seen Anaconda Navigator. Don't use that. Go for the prompt. You click on the prompt. Okay, so let me share the screen for the prompt. All right, I hope you can see this. Please, can you see the Anaconda prompt?
No, no, Clement, please, you can't see. We are just seeing your, is it your document file?
Oh, so, okay. Can you see this now?
Yes, please. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So this is so always. Can you see the Anaconda prompt?
Yeah, we can see it.
Great. So technically, this is the best way you can always open Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So always just go to your search button, search for Anaconda prompt. That's the word, and then you just type Jupyter Notebook. That's the fastest way to open. So you saw I just typed Jupyter Notebook. Okay. Now I'm going to click on it. Then you just press enter. So after typing Jupyter, and don't forget the spelling, it's Jupy, then Ter. Okay, and just type enter. So this will take less than 2 minutes to open. So let's give a little time. So at the moment, okay, so at the moment it's opening, and then so I will share the screen now. Yeah, so at the moment it has opened, and you can see it has opened with one of my browsers. Okay, it has opened with my default browser, and it's still loading. It's still opening. Yeah. So when the very moment this is how Jupyter Notebook looks like. Okay, so you would literally be doing the analysis on one of your browsers. Okay, so here it has opened with my browser, and these are all scripts of previous things I did. You see, I didn't have to create a folder to save all these scripts. These are all script of a lot of things I've been doing. Okay, fine. And then it's easy. And with this, searching for something is so easy. You just come and you click on what you are looking for. Fine. Now, when you come here, you see something called new. When you open that the Jupyter Notebook, when you click here, on your computer, you only see Python 3, or you only see Python here. It means that by default, it's only the Python kernel that is in your Jupyter Notebook, okay? But at the moment, on your computer, you might not be able to run R. So we are going to now learn how to add the R kernel, okay? So you wouldn't see R and you wouldn't see Julia. So you can clearly see that I ran 3 different programming languages at the same time on Jupyter Notebook. So I can run Julia, I can run Python, and I can run R. And initially, if you joined the class late, I told them that Jupyter Notebook, the name Jupyter, it appears that the JU was technically coming from Julia, and then the PY is technically coming from Python, and the R is technically the R. Okay, so it looks like and for Julia, I wouldn't want to talk about it, but it is extremely powerful. Technically, it's very powerful. Fine. So I won't talk about it for the whole course. Okay, fine. So now we are going to learn how to add. So keep in mind, this is just to show you how we open Jupyter Notebook. So you first of all do your installation. After you do your installation of the Anaconda, it means you are done with Anaconda. So the next thing you just need to do is just go to your search button and then search for Anaconda. Okay, but when you search for Anaconda, you see the Anaconda Navigator and the prompt. Use the prompt, okay, because you saw that the Anaconda Navigator takes a lot of time before it opens, before you go and click on launch Jupyter Notebook, before it does. But on the Anaconda prompt, you just type, you open, it's just a command line, just type Jupyter Notebook and it will open automatically with one of your browsers, okay? So always keep in mind that it opens with one of your browsers. Now let's learn how you add the IRkernel to it. All right, then after that, we'll start playing around with Jupyter Notebook. So let me stop sharing here and let me share my screen for that. Okay, So technically this is, so you realize that here, now I want to use the command line, but at the moment it's not permitting me, meaning that I would have to just either close this one, either close. I hope you can see the Anaconda prompt at the moment, please. Can you see the Anaconda prompt?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, please, we can do
So
that.
at the moment, I either need to just close this, which is long process, or I just have to press Control C. So Control C, so Control C. So Control C will terminate your current will terminate the current Jupyter Notebook you've opened. So it meant what I open on the in the browser will not be working anymore since I've terminated it. So we use Control C to terminate a current session so that you now have a new how do you call it, command line. But if you are someone who program in Linux or you use Linux machine, usually your Anaconda prompt will have an option called file, where you can actually click file to open a new prompt. Okay, but it appears on Windows, you don't have that option. I don't have that option on Windows, but on my Linux machine in the office, I can literally open a new prompt and then without necessarily having to close the current one. Fine. So now, how do we install? How do you call it? How do we um, add the IRkernel? So don't forget that until we add the IRkernel or the kernel of any other programming language, you cannot run that language in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, fine. So so I think so I think I have a pic, I think a link to take us through. Okay, so if you can all see this link, this link will be on Piazza, or if it's already sent on Piazza, but you can always check the link here from here and just always Google and you'll be fine. So it's just data to fish.com/r Jupyter notebook. Okay, this will open this link for you. Okay, so this is all you need to add the IRkernel. Okay, so you have to copy this link, and after copying, just go to the Anaconda prompt. So let me stop sharing and just go to the Anaconda prompt, and then when you go to Anaconda prompt, you paste. So paste means normal control V, then you press enter. I wouldn't press enter because I already have IRkernel, or else it would undo what I already had previously. So all you needed to do is just copy and paste that. So conda install -c r, then r dash this, press enter, and then it will get. So now let's go through the process it will take you through. Okay, so I'll close the I'll close the prompt. I'll open it later. Okay, so now let's continue. So here, like I said, you just copy this and paste in the prompt, you press enter, and then it will, so here, so at the moment you are opening the prompt, like I said, then you have something like this as you saw mine. Then you just copy and paste that there, just as I did. Okay, so this is just going to take you through the various steps. Okay, and then you just paste this and then you press enter. Once you press enter, it will start running. Lot of things will be happening. You don't need to think about them. Then you get a certain point where it asks you to proceed. Click either Y or N. So you have to click Y. Okay, just click Y. Once you click Y, you press enter. Always when you type something in the prompt, you press enter for it to run. So it will ask you proceed, and then you just type Y and you press enter. And then, so that's exactly what it's doing here. You type the Y, then you press enter. Then afterwards, you are done. Okay. So the very moment you now get to this link, I mean the base directory. Okay. All you now need to do is just to open Jupyter Notebook. You saw that he was trying to use the navigator to open Jupyter Notebook. I won't recommend that to you. Okay. So like I said, from here, you just type Jupyter, you space it, the notebook, and you are good to go. All right, so that is just all you need to do to add the IRkernel. Okay, so keep in mind, it's just copying and pasting this in the Anaconda prompt, and then once you press enter, it will get to a point, it will ask you to proceed by clicking either Y or N. So click Y, and then after clicking Y, it takes a bit of maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then you are done. All right. So now let me come back to the, let me go back to the, okay. So now after doing that, it meant you already have added IRkernel. So now I'm trying to open Anaconda now. So yeah, so at the moment, all I need to do is just to type Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so I told you don't use the Anaconda navigator. So just type Jupyter. And the notebook, don't forget to space it before you type notebook. Okay, then you press enter. And that's how simple you would open the Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so after opening that, you don't need to worry about the prompt anymore. So at the moment, mine is opening. So let me share, and I told you to open with one of your browsers. All right, so at the moment, it's opening with one of my browsers, and you can clearly now see this is how Jupyter Notebooks looks like. And after, to be certain that the IRkernel has been added, you have to click the new here, the arrow, you click on this arrow, and you should see R. Then it meant that you have the IRkernel. Are you okay? All right. So now suppose you now want to start, let's say I want to work in Python. I click the new and click this Python, and it will open in another link. Okay. If I want to use, so suppose I want to use Python, I just click on a Python, and you can clearly see it's opening with another yeah, it has opened. So now whatever I do here, so I can do 2 plus 2 plus 3, and so what I'm doing now is in Python. Okay, if it's if I want to work in Julia, I'll rather click the Julia link, and the reality is that you can open several scripts at the same time. And now let me explain the advantage of, so I've already talked about the advantages of Jupyter Notebook, and we are going to actually see everything by the time we are done. We are done with the class. Okay, today we'll spend less than 1 hour, so we just have another 30 minutes and we'll be fine. So now I've opened Julia, and technically I can open R at the same time. So I've opened R as well. So now this part is going to open R. So the notebook will be the same thing. The structure is the same, but the kernel would only tell the kind of program you can write there. So technically, if I open in this case, I'm opening Julia. If I open R, now it meant at the moment I'm in R, so I can write 3 plus 3, for instance. And then how to run this, you click Control Enter to run. Okay, always Control plus Enter would run it. Okay, so now, and then to create, so we are going to learn how to create new cells, but keep in mind at the moment we are in R. So now I can just type, like I'm creating a vector. I can try and do some plots. For instance, maybe let me change color to, let's say, blue. Okay, so at the moment, you see I have this, and you realize that after installing, when you do your plotting, it only picks half of your page, and that's not what you really want. So if you watch my previous YouTube videos, you saw that I was using a certain function that helps you to be able to plot at a large surface. Okay, so that's technically one thing you only need to add. So I'll just open one of my previous lessons. Let's say the fifth one, the fifth script, and then I'll just copy something and paste for you to see. So basically now we are now going to go through how you will actually create your own script. So you can clearly see that you can be making notes. So this is a typical R script I wrote in Jupyter Notebook. So you can see you can make notes, because there are instances where some people write codes and they even forget what their code was trying to achieve. And sometimes they want to also show their results with their supervisors. They have to copy and paste their results in RStudio. They have to copy and paste into Word before they will share with their supervisors and other things. It's just waste of time. So with with the Jupyter Notebook, you can see I can be making notes, and then I can be making notes, and here you see your codes, and your output can be printed clearly for you to see, okay? And then all your figures. So if I come down, all your plots can be seen clearly, okay? So it actually makes, so if you want to discuss something with your supervisor, it's so easy. Or you can even use this for presentation, okay? Fine. So let me just copy what I said I wanted to copy. So when I come down here, yeah, so this one. So this function, this particular function is what I wanted to copy. So I'll just close this session now. Yeah, so here, if I want to maximize that, all I needed to do was to create a new script. So keep in mind, there's a certain insert sign here called so when I click this one, okay, it's clicking, it when you click this, it creates a cell below, okay? If I click on it again, it will be creating extra cells below, okay? So keep in mind that we use this one to create extra cells. Or suppose I wanted to create a cell on top of this current cell I am, okay? I can just click on insert and click above. So if you click above, it will insert a cell above it. If I click above again, it will insert a cell above it. If I click below, it will insert a cell just below the current one, okay? So I've showed you there are two ways to add extra cells. You just click on either this one, okay, to create extra cells, or suppose there are instances you wrote a code, but you only wanted to create an extra cell on top of this code. You just have to click insert and then click above, okay? Fine. Now let me just, okay, so this is what I said you need to run in order to what? In order to get a large, like your figures to cover the full page. Okay, so if I run this one, now you can see clearly that it's covering every the page as you anticipated. So keep in mind that you need to add this particular one was not ideally part of the notebook. You have to add it in order to get the kind of view you want to see. Fine. So don't forget that you can always just copy and paste this one in any R Jupyter Notebook session you are creating for R. Okay, it won't work on Python. This, if you want to use Python, there's a different function you would run in order to get a larger view. If we're using Julia, there's also a different function you run, but this is strictly for R. All right, so let me just click this. So this was a Jupyter, a Julia notebook I wrote, so I can also do addition and so on here. So this was a Julia notebook that a Julia kernel that I opened. All right, so let me just close that. Fine. So now let's start business. Okay, so now we've learned, so now we've seen that at the moment, we've seen technically how to create extra cells. So you just click on the plus or click insert, and then you choose either above or below, okay? And then also keep it, so now let me delete these cells. And keep in mind that I told you to run any cell, you can use Control Enter, okay? Now, if I use Shift Enter would also run. But keep in mind that Shift Enter runs and create an extra cell. So here I was running, let's say 2 plus, let's say 3. I'm going to use Shift Enter, see what happens. You see, after using Shift Enter, it runs but goes to an extra cell. Probably that might not be what you really wanted to. So in essence, it meant that suppose there was a code here and I had clicked Shift Enter, the cursor will move to the next one, okay? But ideally, there are instances you are just interested in running a specific cell. So that's why the Control Enter is the best. So if I should close this. So let me type 2 plus 3, for instance. If I use Control Enter, you see it just runs that. But by the very moment I use Shift Enter, it creates extra cells. So be careful. So I would always recommend you using Shift Enter to run a cell. You can also come to cell and run. So here you can run all. If you click run all, it will run all your scripts. Suppose you wanted to run all your script. I wouldn't advise you to do that. Because there are instances you are not interested in every single cell. You are interested in just a specific thing. In that case, just go to that cell and just click Control Enter and you're good to go. All right. So previously, we did, let's say, let me click on the previous lesson, the previous R script we wrote. So now we are going to create our new R script, learn how to save Jupyter Notebook, the script we wrote in Jupyter Notebook, and we'll learn how to open it in case you want to use it in another time, okay? Because everything you do is automatically going to save for you. Fine. So this was a previous script that we wrote. So now everything is there. So suppose I want to download my results or share with my supervisor or with friends. You can come to File, okay? So when you come to File, you find out that in File, we have Download As. Now you realize that in the Download As, let me take this up here. So you go to File, okay? And then you go to download as. So in the Download As, you can see HTML. So those times I said I have the R script, I have the HTML file, and I also have the normal R script. This is all I needed to do. I just have to click on this and it will download all the code that I've written as an HTML file. With an HTML file, what it meant is that just click with any of your browsers and it will open, but no one can alter your codes. But the person will see all your codes, your plots, everything just as is seen in your Jupyter Notebook. Okay. But keep in mind, if you download as an R script, you will not see any of the results unless you rerun all the codes before you can see output. If you get it, because if you use R Studio, you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so keep in mind that the HTML file is very important because there are instances where you want to share a result with your supervisor, and even some students in other countries, especially even in Cardiff University, for instance, most of the students sometimes submit their assignment using Jupyter Notebook, especially programming assignment. They write the question, everything, the code is there, the output is just down there, and then they download and send the output as an HTML file, the script as an HTML file. So as an HTML file, the lecturer will see your script, they will see your output, everything will be there, okay? But no one can alter it. They can only see it. However, you can always copy and paste the codes in the HTML file also directly into an R Studio, or someone can just easily copy and paste. So at the moment, I would always technically go for HTML file over just downloading the normal R script. If you want to download as a normal R script you would have created in R Studio, you just have to click on this one, and this will download the script as a normal script that you would have created in R Studio. So this is how important and how versatile Jupyter Notebook can sometimes be. So now if I should click on download, as you can also see that those who use latex can also click on latex and it will download. Suppose you even have plot, it will download everything as it will download a zip file, okay, of all your codes, your pictures and everything. And then you just have to click on the latex file and then just run. Those who use latex. Personally, I don't use Word document or PowerPoint for anything anymore. I use latex for my thesis. I use latex for everything. It's a programming language, but what it does is that it's specifically for test. Okay, so it's like a programming software that we use to. It's not a language, sorry. It's just a programming software, but it's a programming software that we use to produce quality documents. So if you've gone to my profile and you check any of my publications, everything I did was done in latex. So when you pick a typical mathematics paper or a typical mathematics journal, you find out that almost 99% were done in latex. No one does Word. Word with time will just get out of the system over time because it looks like you can literally do a lot of things in latex. I won't talk about latex for today because it's not it's not about this class anyway. So this is just to show you that once you create a script, you can always just come to download as, and then download. Clicking here will just download as the normal R script that you would have created in R Studio. So suppose someone is new to Jupyter Notebook. They don't know anything about Jupyter Notebook, but you've created your course. You want to send your script to them. Just click on this one and it will download as the normal script and you can send to them. But you can click on the HTML and then that will download this as an HTML file, where that file, you just click on it with any of your browsers and it will open. Once it opens, the person will see all your codes, your pictures, your graphs, everything will be there. All right. So now let's start with creating our own Jupyter, our own script. Okay. So let's assume at the beginning when you open you now know how to open Jupyter Notebook. And I told you that when you come here, you just click on new. Okay. You click on new. So new, since it's R you work with, you click on the R. Okay. If it was Python, you click on Python. All right. So so now let's see how to do some programming. So I'm closing the previous one. Let me open this and then let's start from scratch. So we have less than about 15 minutes to just wrap up that. Today I don't want to waste too much time. Let me calm down a bit. Okay. Fine. So now we're going to learn how to write your own script, write comments the way I was doing like this one. Okay. So let me go and copy that thing, that's the function, that's the script that made us to get large pictures. Okay, so I'll paste that here. All right, so once you open your the Jupyter Notebook or your IRkernel at the moment, you only see one file, right? Or you only see one cell. So you can either click anywhere and then click this plus sign to open extra cells, okay? Or you can click control. So I told you can use the shift enter. So at the moment I'm using shift enter to also, so it's a shortcut. So I'm using shift enter to also create extra ones, okay? So I've used shift enter to create extra ones. Oh, who is Raymond? What are you doing? Anyways, someone is using how do you call it? How do you call it? Someone is writing on the I think it's Raymond doing that. Raymond, stop. Anyway, so this thing is not, this blue thing is not supposed to appear on yours. Fine. All right. So at the moment, let's just run this. So to run this, I told you you can use control enter to run. Now let's save our script. So this script at the moment is not saved. Let's write some codes first. So maybe let's say we want to simulate the data from normal distribution. Okay. So now let's say I'm writing simulated data. Okay. Oh, who is doing this? Raymond. Let me close this. Raymond, can you stop connecting to that? Okay, so let me just open it now. Or can you please erase it? Erase this one. Just use your eraser on the tablet to erase that. Raymond. Raymond, can you hear me? Okay, fine. So at the moment, someone was just using a tablet connected to this one to write these things, and it's not supposed to be here. Fine. So all you need to do is so now we've opened a new script. So let's say we want to simulate the data. So simulated data, and I told you that you can either use this to assign or normal equality. So let's say we are simulating from a normal distribution, and you realize that the difference is that in the Jupyter Notebook, as opposed to the RStudio, you see in the RStudio, once you start typing, your commands start popping up. So if it was RStudio and I started typing rnorm, it will pop up and then you just click. But in the Jupyter Notebook, nothing pops up. It's just like the R base. Nothing will pop up. So you should be sure of what you are typing. Okay. So let's say I'm simulating 100 data from normal with mean 0 and standard deviation. That. And let's say I want to maybe do a normal plot. So let's say I want to plot maybe 2 graphs at the same time. So I'll use per mf row. Okay, so you're just typing your normal, so 2 by 1. Okay, and then let's say I'm doing a normal line plot, and then so I'll use simulated data. Okay, and let's say I want a stepwise. Always I've been using the type to be L. Let's choose a different type. I'm using S. Then I'll use L for you to see what happens. Then this, okay, so I'm plotting 4 different graphs at the same time. Then let me choose a color to be, let's say, I can just put 1 here. One is default for black color. Then I'll choose a different type, let's say L, and I'm using 2. Technically, you can just use this and specify the exact color you want. Okay, fine. But I'm just trying to show you that you can also use numbers, and every color has a particular number in. So then you can just copy and paste. So now I'm using another type P, and then which other type should I use? I'll use B. Okay, so now I want to plot 4 graphs. Okay, and then on the same page, maybe so let's run this. But before then, you realize that this is covering only just half a page. So what I'll do is that I would run the first line would always help you to get your maximum, or the plot to occupy the maximum page as you want. So now the moment Raymond shouldn't have done this, but it's fine. So now I have 4 different plots. Okay, so with the 4 different plots, one is doing stepwise. But the stepwise, you will not see it clearly from here, but it's because I simulated quite a large data set. Suppose I had just used, let's say, yeah, they're still fine. So you realize that in our plotting, we have different types. So the L is for normal line graph. Okay, the L. So the first one is occupying the first position, which is the step. The L is just normal line graph, as you can see. And then the P would plot point instead. So it's more like if you want to do a scatter plot, you use point. But the very moment you now want to join lines between the plots, so the same scatter plot, you want to now join lines. So you realize that this and this, the difference is that for this, it has connected each of the points. So this one, you use the type B, okay? So suppose, let's say let me create something simple. So let me say I'm creating, let's say a sequence, maybe a sequence from 1 to, let's say, 1,000, and I want to return, I want len.out, meaning that I want to just maybe let's say 50 data points from there. Okay, so now let me run this. So you see now, this is like a typical stepwise function, okay? And then this is like a typical line. So you realize that this L only creates straight lines. The L is for creating lines. And the P is for scatter. So the P always consider a plot. It's because this was just a sequence. Okay, so let me just go back to my normal, fine. So this is not just to teach our, this session, this essence of this class is not to teach running our functions. We've already learned that in our previous lessons, and we'll continue next week. Okay, so here is just to show that first of all, you can run, these are your codes, you run and you see your outputs just beneath it. You will not be able to find this in RStudio. In RStudio, after running, you have to now go to the lower the lower right corner in order to see your graphs. And even with that, you technically have to click on zoom or click on export or something else to see your full graphs. Okay, and then we learned that always it's advisable to set a working directory. We are not doing that. Okay, fine. So in Jupyter Notebook, I would only set working directory if I want to import a data from that folder, or if I want to technically save a certain file or a certain picture or a certain output as maybe CSV file into that folder. Apart from that, I don't need to set a working directory for Jupyter Notebook to save my pictures, because these pictures, once you save, would be saved forever. You don't have to save it in a folder. It will be saved in your Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so now I've not given any name to this script. So now let's save. To save, you just go to File, click on Save As. Okay, and let's say I'm saving as first Jupyter first Jupyter lesson. Okay, so and then you just click save. Now at this point, anytime you want to save, just Control S, the normal way. And keep in mind, you realize that since after saving it for the first time, okay, you can get something like this that tells you to overwrite. So you just click overwrite, and it meant that now you can now use Control S to save anything you are doing. So suppose I want to create a new cell to do another thing. So suppose I want to maybe what else should I do? So suppose maybe I want to find correlation. Let's say I have a data point X, and then let's say I'm simulating from normal, let's say 100 data points 0, 1 with mean 0 and variance 1. And let's say I'm simulating from, let's say, exponential with sample to be 100, and then maybe the rate is just 1. Fine. So suppose now I want to what should I do? Okay, so let's do the normal bivariate. I'm trying to plot two bivariate normal distributions, or two normal distributions. So now I can use the plot and then plot X against Y. Okay, and then I can use type equals P. Okay, and then I can choose color to be, let's say, blue. Okay, so now I'm running this. I'm trying to plot two normal random variables, but they are very large. It will form a shape. And I explained this to you the last time that anytime you have two large normal samples and you do a scatter plot, it forms an elliptical shape. That is just to say that those variables would be bivariate normal, okay? And keep in mind that anytime you plot two normal random variables that are done with very large samples, you always get an elliptical shape, something that looks like an egg or something that looks like the sun. Fine. All right. So fine. So P is always for the normal how do you call it? The normal scatter plot. But I realized I did the normal scatter plot, but it naturally formed a shape. Fine. Okay, so basically this is just how to write your function. So the normal, so all the things we've been doing in your previously in the R Studio, now open a Jupyter Notebook, okay, and you've learned how to open it, and then copy each line of code, paste it in a particular cell. You can technically do everything in the same cell, but you wouldn't want to, so meaning that I could have also just added my plot here, but see what happens. So meaning that I'm putting, like, there's already this plot, okay, and now it's also still running for the down part, and see what happens. Okay, so you realize that when you do that, it creates this kind of thing where you can come down to see the plot, okay, but you see this is not always the best thing to do. All right, so always it's good that create a particular cell for one particular thing you are interested in doing, then you go to the other, and it helps you to even organize your script. So you realize that now we are going to learn how to download the script, and at the end of the day you see that in the script things have already been organized for you. All right, so now suppose you now want to write comment. Okay, so now let's say I want to click on insert above. So suppose I now want to say my first Julia lesson, okay, my first Julia lesson. Then keep in mind now, if you try to run this thing, you get an error because this is not an any R code, okay? So what you need to do is that you now click here, and if I click on Markdown, see what happens. If I click on Markdown, then I click Control Enter. Now you see it has created like a test for you. And then the very moment you put this star, double star around this, then it deepens it for you. Okay, but keep in mind that with a double star, suppose I give a little bit space and I forgot to bring this, see what happens. You've seen what happened. So always make sure this one. So suppose this is my first Julia, hey, did I say Julia? My first R lesson in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, always make sure that you bring this one to touch the last thing before you run, or else you will get something like this. Okay, fine. Now we've done this. So now you can click on it. You can always type equations anyway. So suppose I wanted to type the mean formula. Always bring a $sign. So this is what we mean by in latex. So Jupyter Notebook can write latex functions. Okay. So technically, if I want to write, let's say, an equation, let's say mean, we know mean is S bar. So if you know that in latex, I can write bar of X, for instance. If I run this, see what? So this is X bar. So if you knew the latest, and then let's say I want to say S bar is the summation of X divided by N. So I'll in latex, and these things you don't need to know these things if you don't know latex. Okay, but I'm just trying to show you how you can write equations. If you're able to write equations in Jupyter Notebook, you can write equations in latex. So here, let's say I want to write summation X over N. So summation, I'll use slash sum. Okay, summing n from, let's say, I equals 1. So in that case, I'll open another curly bracket. So keep in mind that to create a function, okay, you use a fraction, you use slash frac, and this has got nothing to do with R script. This is just Jupyter, and this is just how do you call it, latest function. So this function, the second curly bracket will be the denominator, and the first curly bracket will be the numerator. Okay, so here I'm just trying to write something in the numerator. So I want summation X all over N. So the summation X will come here, and divided by N, the N will be in the denominator. So this is the denominator. So it meant that for the numerator, I can use slash sum. So let's say I want to write sum from I equals 1 2. So I'll use this hat sign to N. Okay. So now what I've written here is the summation sign. The underscore means that it should put I equals 1 at the denominator, as at the subscript, and then this N on top. Now let's see what happens. So if I run this, and don't forget, I wanted to say of X. Okay, so summation X. So here I can even bring a curly bracket around this N. Okay, so now I've been able to create something like this, or I can just put X as small like this. So I've written summation Xi over N. So technically, you can literally write latest equations also in Jupyter Notebook. So there are instances maybe you are doing a task. If you remember, like last week, for instance, I'm sorry. So last week, for instance, if can you still see the Jupyter Notebook? Can someone just shout? Can you still see something happened?
Yes, we can see the Jupyter
Okay,
Notebook.
that's great. So if I come down now, so let me just click on the. So you realize that the first what we saved, the script that we saved. If you come to your home page here, you can now see the first Jupyter lesson here. Okay, you can always. So it meant that you didn't need to create a separate folder, just as we created a folder on our desktop, and then we called it data underscore R results, if you remember. And then at the end of the day, we save our script in the R Studio into it. With this one, you don't have to do that. All the script that I've been writing are all here. All I need to do is just to click on them. So now if I click on anything, so here I was running Julia. If I click on this, it will open, it was a Julia script, okay? It will open directly for me. Okay, so this was a Julia thing I was running. Fine. So let me just continue. So keep in mind that after saving, you have to come and check here, and it will be there. So the first R script. So now, if I were you, all the R lessons we've done in our previous YouTube videos, try and run every script in Jupyter Notebook by just opening your script in RStudio, and then copy and paste it in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, and then so keep in mind that once you have your script written in Jupyter Notebook, you can always come to File and click Download as R, and this will download it as the normal R script you would have written in Jupyter in RStudio. And you can click on latest HTML. I'll do the HTML for you to see what I was talking about. Okay, fine. So at the moment, this is how simple. So you can write equations in latex. you can write latest equations in Jupyter Notebook. And then, okay, so now suppose, let me come down, or let me just open. So here I just use Control Enter. I told you Control Enter is always preferred to Shift Enter. Even though Shift Enter will also run, but it will go to the next cell. At the moment, if I should just remove this and I should click on Shift Enter, this is what happens. So Shift Enter, in that case, since there's already something down here, it won't create a new cell. Okay, so you realize that once I run here, it will just go to the next one, right? But it won't create a new cell. But if I was down here and I had clicked, if I click Shift Enter, it will run and it will open a new cell. Okay, so I would always advise Control Enter should always be what should be in your mind if you want to run your any cell. Okay, and you can always click Cell and then run all, and then it will run. Suppose, let's say I was here in this cell and I wanted to run all the cells above that has been created above this one. I can just click cell and run all cell above, and it will run all the cells above this particular cell that I've highlighted. Okay, and then if you wanted to run all cells below this particular cell, you can also click cell and click run all below, and it will also do that. But ideally, it's always advisable to run each cell separately. I think that's the best thing you should do. Fine. Now, suppose this one was our lesson. Okay. I told you now, if you run this one, it will give you an error because this is not an R, you call it an R code. Okay. So here you are just trying to write comment and other things. So you can just, you know, for R, if I had used this hashtag, it will treat it as a comment you wanted to add. Okay, fine. But now, and we've learned that the markdown actually helps us to type these things, isn't it? And we've learned that you can bring the hashtag here, the star around it to deepen it. Now, how about the other ones? So so now we've learned, so this is the code. If I want to convert this one to code, if I click code, by default, if you run this, since it's not a code, you get an error. And if I type something like this, let's say C23, let's say this one, since it's a code, it runs. But if I choose Markdown, this will not run again, okay? Because Markdown means that you've now made it like a test or something. Okay, so I can use Control. Yeah, so initially I was writing our lesson. Okay. Now, instead of Markdown, if I should choose heading, see what happens. Then you just click this one. It creates a very bigger, it deepens it black and creates. So you can actually use this to kind of beautify your script, especially if you want to write extra comments, okay? So keep that in mind. And then another alternative is that, so keep in mind the heading does that. If I click on raw, let me take this one out. When you click on raw is also like the markdown. Look at the difference between the markdown and the raw. So the markdown would remove that cell and just paste it like that, as if it was something just wrote. But if I use the raw, see, for instance, here, I use the raw. So the raw, so now let me use, if I use the raw and I run, you see, it doesn't give me any error anymore. However, it's not a code. Okay, so here, if I use Markdown, then, so the Markdown will always remove that cell, this cell thing there, and just paste it like the test we wanted to do. So here, if I use the raw NB convert, okay, so at the moment, let me use the raw. So if I use the raw, it will now see it as a test anyway, but this cell will be there. I don't think that's something very useful. You would always want to use maybe the Markdown to do that. Or in the Markdown, so you can just put the hashtag here. After creating Markdown, you can put the hashtag here and press enter. And press to space, the backspace to space. And it is also another alternative of just clicking heading. So look at what I did. So I could just have clicked on heading, and then it will convert it into this, okay? Or I can take this out and it converts it to markdown. The very moment I add this, it converts it to the heading and is there. The very moment I take this out, it converts it to normal, the normal markdown. And then if you push the hashtag, the star, keep in mind, if you don't end it, you don't see anything. So you have to end it before you see that, okay? And you can write any complex equation you want. So suppose you wanted to write which formula, any formula you wanted to write, you can just write. So these ones are latest. So if you don't know the latest, and latest is very easy, okay? So if you saw I was writing S bar, all I needed to do was slash bar with a curly bracket, that. But keep in mind that you can only write that once you have a dollar sign, okay? Or I can also use this and that and this and that. Okay, it seems this doesn't work. Okay, no, it's rather this one. I put this here and I put this here. Let me see. Oh, inside instead. Okay, so it also doesn't. Fine. So always just use the dollar sign. But the dollar sign, there's difference. If I use double dollar sign, see what happens. So these are latest. The double dollar sign will center your equation at the middle, or bring it at the center. Okay. So for instance, if I use double here, see what happens. So the double will just take your equation to the center of the page. Okay. So sometimes you want it that way. If you don't want it that way, you just use a single and it will just create it. Okay. So with this one, you can still type. So this one you can say mean of anything, mean of, let's say, mean. There's the mean formula. Is the mean formula. And then yeah, you can work it from there. Fine. So basically that's all you need to know with the Jupyter Notebook. I won't take much of your time. So just to wrap up, like I said, you can, so now this particular file we've written, I'm going to download it as a normal R script for you to see, and I'll download it as HTML file. So I just go to download and just click on this one. Once you click, it will download and go to your downloads. We'll go back to the downloads very soon to check. And then let me download this as HTML file. I just click on HTML and then it downloads at that. And there are instances you can also download as a notebook. Suppose someone also uses Jupyter Notebook and the person wants to get the actual Jupyter Notebook script. So the person can also click on notebook, and let me also download as notebook. Okay, so now at the moment I have downloaded, yeah, so at the moment I have downloaded, sorry, so at the moment I've downloaded it as HTML file. At the moment I've downloaded it as HTML file. Let's go to my folder. So we are literally done. So let's go here. So here I've come to my downloads, and you can clearly see that now I have, this is the normal Jupyter Notebook, okay? And then this is the HTML. So I told you with this one, we are going to click on this one, and then it would open with any of your browsers, okay? And then this is now the normal R script, as you can see. So now if I click on this, it will open with the normal R Studio. So that's how friendly Jupyter Notebook is. For the for the HTML file, which I prefer, like I'm clicking on it, and then I will share my screen. Okay, so now see the difference. So originally, let me just close these extra. So this is the actual Jupyter Notebook file, isn't it? Now, if I open the HTML file, this is how you see it. So with this, you cannot run anything, okay? You cannot edit it. You can only see all your codes, your graphs, everything will be there. You see, your codes, your graphs, everything will be there. So people can actually use this to submit assignment to their I mean, or to actually share their results with their supervisors, with friends or whatever. Okay, and there are instances where some supervisors might prefer your R script, and you can also download it as your normal R script and send it to them. Okay, so it gives you more advantage over just using the normal classical R Studio. So that's why it's very important, I think, for us to switch from R Studio to Jupyter Notebook. Okay, Fine. And then suppose you've downloaded someone, I wrote the actual Jupyter Notebook, or I sent you the actual Jupyter Notebook script. Okay. So let's say I sent you, let me share this shortly. So suppose I sent you this, this is the Jupyter Notebook, and you wanted to import it into your, so suppose after writing all the codes, I didn't send HTML file, or I didn't send you the actual R script. I rather sent you the notebook file, okay, or the actual Jupyter Notebook. Let me give a different name to it so that it doesn't, let me name it as, let's say, first Jupyter or something, or first notebook or something, first R notebook. Let me use NB, I just want to distinguish from the other one because I'm importing it. Okay, so suppose this was the file I sent you, and this is how it was called. And suppose now you want to import this one. Let's see how you do it. So let's say I sent this to your email, and you wanted to get the actual, I get access to my actual notebook. Okay, so now I'll stop this and then just come to the home page of the Jupyter. So don't forget, the Jupyter Notebook always has the home page. So it's at the home page that you see all your scripts. Okay, so now to import, you know that it's in my downloads. So all I need to do is that, you see from here, I can click downloads here. When you come down, that's when you see all your script. So if I click download, because if it was on your document or at the document section, click document. If it's on your desktop, click desktop and go and manually select. So it's at the download. So I click download. So once you click download, let me come up. So once you click download, how you know you are in your download is this one. Okay. If I click here, now I'm no more in my downloads. I'm actually in the normal page, home page of the Jupyter Notebook. But if I click download, how I will know it's on download is it will pop up. If I rather click on, if I click here and I click, let me click here. Oh, what is happening? Okay, fine. So if I should click on, let's say, if I click here, if I click on desktop, it meant this will show that now I'm at the desktop. So if I come down, if I should come down, it looks like, okay. If I should come down, all these things you are seeing are on my desktop, okay? So let's just go to the downloads. Usually when you are sharing your how do you call it, if you are sharing your screen and then you are doing these things, sometimes I see it's freezing or something. Okay, so now let's just click on downloads. Then I come down. I'm trying to come down, but it looks okay. Then I come down, and then if you remember how I saved it as if you come down, I saved it as was it first R notebook NB. Okay, so let me come down. So you keep coming down. It looks like my screen is kind of freezing. Okay, so you come this. So what you do is that you just come down. It looks like it's freezing a little bit. Fine. So you come down. We said first. What's happening to my screen? So first, let me come down first. Okay. So it was, yeah. So it was I said first, right? First. I said that, is it first underscore notebook R or something? Let me be sure whether I am in my. So basically, it looks like my screen is freezing a little bit. I don't know why. Okay, fine. So all I need to do, let me go up. So you click on because it wasn't in the downloads. It's freezing a little bit. Okay, fine. So I click on downloads now, okay, and then I come down, and then I'm checking for some reason when I click on the downloads. Okay, so I come down. I'm looking for first. How did I even say this? The screen is freezing a bit, so I wouldn't waste too much time. So all you need to do is that when you click on the downloads where it is, you just come down and select how you labeled it, Um, okay, let me see. It looks like it's still not working. Okay, so I won't waste time anymore on that. So yeah, okay, it's working now. Let me come down. Oh no. Anyway, so yeah, so you just click on the downloads. Okay, when it works, then it stops. Fine. So I won't waste time on that. Yeah, so you just click on that downloads, and then you come down and you click on that notebook you want to save. Um, it should have worked, but for some reason my screen, when I shared the screen, okay, now it's coming down. Okay, okay, yeah. So I saved it as, was it first? Let me check the name. First R underscore NB. First R. So first R underscore NB. So let me come down. So all these are on my downloads. So all these are on my downloads. So if I should come down, first. Okay, so this was the HTML. This was the first Jupyter lesson HTML on the download. So that's it. Okay. So yeah, so this was what was the first. The other one renamed it as first R, So let me come down. Yeah, so this is for okay, fine. So for some reason, because I renamed it, I don't know where it has, but so this is actually the HTML file on the desktop. So if we left it the way we did, we just click on that and it will open with one of your, you just click on it and it will open with your browser, and that's how easy you can open a notebook that you've already it's just unfortunate that how, because I renamed it, I it shouldn't have been the case, but I'm supposed to find it. It's somewhere here, but maybe to take a bit of time to identify. I said first underscore R. Okay, fine. So I just said first. I can see the fourth, whatever. So yeah. So let me just, yeah. So basically, that's just an exploration of Jupyter Notebook, and then feel free and keep in mind that Jupyter Notebook to me is technically better running R on it than using the R Studio. And then if you even want to run Python too, people would use something called Spider and other how do you call it, other IDEs, but still Jupyter Notebook is just the best. As you can see, you can run Julia, you can run more than 30 programming languages on Jupyter Notebook. So it's something that makes it even makes supervision also interesting, because at the end of the day, you have your codes, your scripts, your output, everything is there. You can download it as HTML file, send it to anyone for the person to open, see your script, your output, everything. Or you can download it as a normal R script, okay? And then you can even download it as a LaTeX script. I could have also clicked on LaTeX. Those who use LaTeX. So if I had, if I should come here and just click File, Download as, and I click LaTeX. Let's see what happens. So it's also downloading as LaTeX. It's taking a little time, but it will finish soon. So especially those who are into latex, so you can actually download. And I want to run it for you to see what I meant by the latex, just for you to see what will pop up. If I show the same script that I ran, this same script as you are seeing, is going to convert it to a PDF. And at the end of the day, you see everything but in a PDF. Okay, fine. It's done. It's done downloading. So let me share the, yeah, fine. So here, so you can see a zip file here. So this zip file, all I need to do is to unzip it. Okay. Let me just extract or extract all. Okay, extract all. Okay, so now you realize that these were the only pictures that were in there. So it will save all your, it will bring all your pictures. If you had 30 different pictures, everything will be here. And now let me just open the I hope you can still see the screen, right? Can someone just shout? Can you see the text maker? Can you see this one?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, fine. So it has, so this is how latex looks like. So like I told you, it's also a form of programming language. It's not a programming language, but it's a programming software for producing documents. Now all I need to do is just to run, click on. So keep in mind, if you don't have latex on your machine, you cannot do this. So I just need to click quick build and see what happens. It said couldn't. Let me see. Could not start the command. Let me close this and start afresh. Okay, so okay, so now I'll just click on this one and open it again. Okay, and then I would just share. Okay, and then now let me run. What's happening? Is I could not start the command. I don't know what is happening, but technically, if you just run the click on this, you were supposed to get the output. I don't know what is happening today with my machine for some reason. Yeah, so if you run, you see. Oh no. All right, so you can try that. You can try that. Those who have latex, you can just download and then click. If you saw from the WhatsApp group page, I used to put a PDF of the script. So you see the script and then the, how do you call it, the codes and everything in a PDF. And it will even tell you your name and say maybe the heading. So if your heading was first notebook, whatever, it will write that maybe Clement first this for you and even add a date for you. And for some reason, I mean, my machine is just messing up for today. All right, so I'll end here, and then if you have, and don't forget that this will be uploaded on YouTube. Don't forget to share with your friends and encourage the use of Jupyter Notebook over R Studio, because as you can clearly see, it has more advantages. Thank you very much, and see you next week. But next week, there's a little assignment I want to use this opportunity to make. Next week, we will not be having a class. The reason is because I'll be doing a whole, you call it a program. It's more like a 2-day program, which anyone can join. So it's basically still doing, so it's, the first is just a 2-day program. It's going to be 11 a.m. in UK time. It's happening in Shanghai. So it's actually, I'm giving a talk, and or let me say I'll be teaching for 2 days, where the first day I'll be talking about statistics. I mean, basically how to do project softwares you can literally use to do, how do you call it, or the models you need to know. So it's just a broad knowledge or background about statistics will be for day 1. And for day 2, I also introduce R for statistical analysis as well. I don't know whether, because I've been using R, maybe I might use a different software for people to have a feel of other softwares. Yeah, so I'm still thinking about it, but that is happening next week, 27th December and 28th. I'll share the I've already shared it on the WhatsApp page, but I will also paste it again for those who are interested to join. I'm sure you will learn a lot because don't forget that programming goes beyond just coding. Keep in mind that if you don't understand the theory behind the kind of statistical models you are fitting and the statistical tests you are doing, then it's like everything you do can be wrong. You get it? So at the end of the day, I'm just going to give you a good summary for you to be able to know, if I have this kind of data, what is the best statistical model, or what's the best statistical test that I can use to achieve these particular objectives. If my data is a panel data, if my data is, let's say, a cross-sectional data, if it's a time series data, and then I want to compare this, what will I do? Keep in mind, if I'm comparing, let's say, means between groups, and the data is not time dependent, the model or the statistical test you use will be different from when the model, when the data had what time, or if the data was collected over time, like a longitudinal data. So, I mean, by the end of the day, you learn a lot of things you probably didn't know. So take advantage of that. And I'm sure I would also upload that on YouTube. So that's what I would do. I think that would be the best thing. So it's going to be a 2-day program, and then I'll upload it on YouTube as well. All right. So see you next week, and then take care. Have a nice day. If you have any question, you can ask me after the class. Bye.